Okay, welcome everybody. This is, my name's Kate, and I am part of Awakening Together, and I'm here today to do our monthly satsang with Bill Free. I'd like to read Bill's bio, and then just which is printed on the website as well. Bill Free loves and shares the teachings of A Course in Miracles. He teaches non-duality and the direct path integration using A Course in Miracles as one of your means to awaken through lectures, self-inquiry, and experiential guided meditations. Bill enjoys the discovery of the self I am in the investigation and contemplation that reveals and embodies pure presence. Bill has found this to be available to all beings when they are ready. The embodiment of Christ consciousness is present in every moment in all things. Bill is the Director of Operations for the Teachers of God Foundation, and he presents A Course in Miracles. He presents at A Course in Miracles conference in the USA. You can visit his website, and I'll give all of those details at the end about how you can learn more about B. I was giving you a little nickname there, B, about Bill. He's got a book club as well, and you can discover more insights from his teachings and his own way of being awake in awareness in this exciting evolution of consciousness. So thank you so much, Bill, for joining us today. Lots of people have joined in just as we've been speaking, so welcome to everyone who's come in. I'd just like to say, just to start off with, that this is a new venture in Awakening Together. We are an assembly of equals, and in that we have taken on different roles. And up to this point, we've had Jacqueline and Regina have mainly done the satsangs. And recently myself and Anne and another wonderful woman called Helen have taken over this job. So we got together a few months ago, and started thinking about people that we'd like to interview. And Bill, you just popped into my head. And I haven't met you before, but I did do some courses with the Teachers of God in the past, and you just struck me as just an amazing person, and someone that I just really wanted to find out more about. And there's been similar intersections that I've noticed, that we've been at the same kind of thing. More recently, well, actually it's 3 years ago, I was realizing that I went to see Muji. Yeah, so there's a few things that have kind of come along. So I'm very excited to have you here and to find out more about you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate. And everyone, I am honored and really just blessed to join with whomever is on this path or not on this path. This is a great time that we live in. It's just it's exciting. This venue of connecting with people around the world, and the integrations, the different intersections where we all meet, is you never know where it's going to be or where it's going to come from. And right now, the world is in a very what's going on kind of experience around the world. This is a global experience that we're having right now, and we can all join together in these kinds of gatherings, awakening together. We did one yesterday that was a community gathering that had several hundred people on it, where we assembled a lot of other teachers, and I love the idea of equals. You know, there's no higher, low, or you know, different levels of who's got it, who doesn't have it, or, you know, I'm a teacher, we're all teachers. We're all expressions of love. We're all beings on our journey. I wouldn't even say home, because we're actually home. We're not on a journey home. We're just awakening to the realization that we are what home is. And it's not in this bodysuit. It's the beingness that's aware in every moment. And we get to share that with the world right now. We get to share this. You know, there's a peace that passes understanding that, you know, I used to read a verse like that out of the Bible, and it went, phew. But you can live in this present moment as peace, as presence, as awakened to love's presence. And these things will still happen out there. The activities of the coronavirus and the fears that come with that, and the concerns that come with that. And there's a place where all of us are changeless. There's a place where all beings are just like the same aware presence that a tree has, that a leaf has, that a rock has. We think we're so evolved because we have these thinking minds. The rocks are more awake than the humans are. Sorry. And so it is my joy to share some of my experience with all of you. It's good to see familiar faces. George, I haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see you, my friend. And it's like I said, it's my honor to be invited by Awakening Together. I totally love everyone that's involved over there. I've watched that Awakening Together before it was Awakening Together. I mean, when I first found the course, I did a radical, I mean, retro rockets were mounted to my feet and my ass, and I took off like a rocket, and when Regina went from North Carolina to Pueblo, I ended up out there about a year later after she found her place over there. And I lived right down the street from Regina in my RV at a little RV camp. It was 10 minutes away. We met every single day at Regina's house from about, I think, maybe 9 o'clock in the morning till 12, until Jasmine said, "Mom, I don't want these people in the house all the time. Can we have a life?" And Regina got that. She got it right away, and she honored Jasmine's heart and request. And we started then meeting, so it wasn't always about spiritual things and NTI. And this was before NTI was published, and we were reading the manuscripts from NTI. Or no, NTI had just gotten published, because she had a huge big palette of the new published book in her garage. So it had just been published, and we were going through NTI every day. So anyway, that's a sort of a big introduction from myself of my connection with Regina. And she has been a blessing to me for all these years, a great friend, and I'm very blessed to be joined with part of her community here today.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Bill. Yeah, that's like, she's a total blessing to us. And welcome to Wanda. Good to have you here. Dove, did you want to say something, or were you just waving to us because we got you on screen? No? Okay, you were just waving.
Kate, I think that might have been Betty waving. Was that Betty waving?
No, it was
No.
Dove. It was,
Oh,
It was
okay.
Dove.
yeah, that was Dove. Yeah.
Okay, great. So just for the people who've joined, again, I may repeat this a few times as people come in. You know, if you want to ask Bill any question, do you want to ask Bill a question, Dove? No. Okay, you keep putting your hand up. You're just waving. We love you.
Love you, David.
So yeah, so if you want to to ask a question, or to yeah, just share something, you have a couple of options. You can write on the board, and we'll be keeping an eye on what's being written on the board, or you can put your hand up. There is a way you can put your hand up. There's a little icon on, if you press on participants, there should be a little row of icons, and there's a little one that says raise hand, and that should put a little hand up beside your name, which I'll try and keep an eye on as well. Otherwise, you can just wave at us, and if you're waving and no one sees you, please just turn your mic on and say, hello, I'd like to say something. Okay. Yeah, so great. So Dove has to leave right now. So he finally got his video on, now he has to leave. Well, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, so Bill, I'm very interested in, you know, you've said a couple of times now that you had like a supercharged experience of when you first found the course. Was the course your first step on the journey, or was there other things happening before that? Or do you like to say, and would you like to say anything about that?
The course was I would say my second phase of awakening, because the first phase was the Bible, was my connection with looking for what's out there, what's true or real, and I really had a strong pull to be interested in Jesus and in the Bible, and so I had 20 years of being a Christian evangelical sort of a experience, and then found the course. And the Bible experience was awesome, because it really, I was a drug addict in the 60s, the late 60s, and I had a small child, and the Bible pulled me out of the drugs and the alcohol and, you know, being crazy in my mind, and it set me on a path to stabilize. And, you know, the course wasn't printed yet, so it was just holding me until the course could be published, and then I could have, because you know, from an early age, I've always wondered, is this it? Is this all there is? And I would, you know, even at 10 or 12 years old, I would go, wow, you only get to be about 70 years old and then it's over. That's weird. It just didn't make sense to me that that's what this is. And so I always had a question about it. And then when I when I had my first marriage and was a father, I became the custodial parent of our daughter, our 2-year-old, that is now 42 years old. And I was the caretaker for her when I divorced my first wife. We were, you know, we were crazy. We were always partying. It was always about drugs. We had no sense of what we were supposed to be doing. And the baby just came in. And when we split up, we thought that I would be the better of the two of us, believe it or not. And I'm looking at me going, what the hell are you doing? Well, you got a child here. You need to wake up. And so I got on my knees one morning, just stoned out of my mind, drinking all night, drugs, everything. And I just said, God, if you're real, I need your help. And that's when I found the Bible. And it immediately, I got baptized in the ocean in the Bahamas a couple of months after asking if God was real. I just surrendered. And all of a sudden, I'm in this born again experience in Nassau, Bahamas. And it just changed the trajectory of my path. I totally became I mean, I only wanted to know God. I wanted to know Jesus. If this guy was even true or real. So I went to Jerusalem right away. Within 2 weeks of getting baptized, I got on a TWA Airlines flight and flew to uh, uh, Tel Aviv and took a bus up to Jerusalem and stayed in Bethlehem for a couple of weeks. And that's sort of the long road to being the initial awakening. And then years later, I found the course, 20 plus years later, found the course, and oh my God, I went, oh, this is what the Bible is missing. This is why we can't love our neighbor as ourselves. And I started seeing all the judgment and so I immediately found, when I found the course, I knew this was the answer, that if this is the Holy Grail. I mean, I had all kinds of ideas about it, but there was really two awakens. And I don't think you just have one awakening. I think the light comes in, and then it's a progressive awareness. It's a progressive awakening, and you just go, if your heart is only wants God. It's like that the reply that Jesus had to the disciples and to the rich young ruler. You have to want this awakening more than you want anything. And when you do that, buckle your seatbelt, because it's going to give you what you're asking for. You ask and you receive as you have asked. It's a law. And if you want to know God with all your heart, God will show itself to you, and your readiness is going to depend on your desire, because the desire to awaken is equal to the desire to be asleep. And it requires the same intensity of desire. The desire that brought us into an experience of the body mind requires the same intensity to seemingly create physical matter and a physical experience, and to incarnate into a body. It takes the intensity of desire of consciousness to allow that to occur. And the miracle in my mind is that same desire can awaken the being to realize itself as not the body and the body at the same time. And now we're talking about something that's really cool, because now the being that's awake is recognizing that it rests in and as God, as pure presence, as the being, and it's having this experience in this thing. It's that you can, once you have understanding and all of these different traditions, you can enjoy the movie, and you can have the joy and the happiness that is everyone's birthright and inheritance, and you can experience the time and space experience. And there's a pull on each one of us, I feel, that the closer we come to the light, the more the light is spontaneously leading the way, and life just becomes an experience of the joy, of the happiness, of the laughter that is the peace of God. It can be identified as peace of God, and it has all of these attributes that are what God is. It's what all the promises of all the traditions are, is to have inner peace, to live in joy, and to have that. And also now, I've always had since I met my wife, Lisa Natoli, we want to share it. We've had a desire to share what we found to be the truth, and it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper for each one of us. And it's very exciting. And in these times right now where the world is like, oh my God, what's happening? It can be a scary experience for beings. And now we can do our part to help support the likeness of pure presence, the likeness of God. Our brothers and sisters are just a mirror of what we are. There's no difference. The cool thing about this experience that the world is having right now is that all of us are on the same side of the equation around the world. Everyone. No one's shooting at each other. Everyone's on the same side, and that's really cool. Now we can just discover how to support each other, how to be a support for the ones who aren't quite awake yet, or more invested in the body, mind, and fear. They need our help, and that's where we become lighthouses for the truth.
Oh, wow, fantastic. I was just listening this morning to another podcast by the Awareness Explorers people. I don't know if you're aware of those guys. They do the podcasts. They're so much fun. But they were saying exactly the same thing, that this is something that unites us, this particular, scenario we're in at the moment. So I'm very interested as well in how the non-dual teachings have impacted you, or when you were you always aware of them, or did they kind of come in later?
That's a really good question. It's interesting that the non-dual teachings have, and this was the pull that I had to go to meet Muji in 2010, when Lisa and I first got together. We had just gotten together in 2010, and Muji was doing a satsang in London, and I said, I want to go see Muji. Vicky Thomas Poppy went with us, Lisa Natoli, and I, and Vicky. And when we went to see Muji, I was interested in his self-inquiry. I was interested in that whole investigation, and I didn't really know too much about the self-inquiry, except that I liked the way he spoke, and it felt like it resonated with me. So when we went, and we were like the first or second row, someone that was an aide to Muji knew that I was there and told Muji that I was there, and Muji invited me backstage during the break, and he had just bought the land in Portugal 4 or 5 months earlier, and he invited me to come to Portugal and to help build the ashram. And so I went. This was like August, and by October I was in Portugal at the ashram. There was only about 40 of us there, and there was no electricity. There was only, I lived in my tent for 3 months, and we were every day with, and there were satsangs all day long, every day. In fact, it was so funny. Mooji would start talking, and you'd be walking by and go, and you just wanted to sit and listen to him. It felt like you were listening to Jesus. And he also has a really cool Bible background. So he would actually tell very current, very fresh parables that you hadn't heard before, but it was like listening to something Jesus would say or do. And when you walk by, you might have a shovel in your hand, or you might have a water hose, or you might be on your way to get some part or something, and you just can't keep walking. You want to sit down and listen. So every single day I watched this happen. One person would sit down, then another person sit down, and another person, and pretty soon there's nobody working, and everyone's sitting around Mooji listening to him share a satsang. And then he would, a couple of hours later, you would hear the silence on the land, because it's the 100 acres, and you can hear the trees blow practically. At least back then you could. And so he noticed the silence, that there was no working going on. He goes, wait a minute, nobody's working. We need to get back to work. And so we did that every day. And that was a amazing experience for me, to come into those early satsangs with Mooji and the beings. And it was just so, I don't know, I can't really describe it, but I do know that is when I had an experience, I was there for a couple of months, and I had what I call my rock experience, where I realized that there was no difference between a rock or a piece of ceramic, a ceramic bowl, or a piece of wood, and what was looking at it. What was looking at it was the same as what it is. And I don't know why it happened there, but I was sitting at a table. No, I was sitting on a bale of hay, looking at a table in the dining room there where we had our meals. And all of a sudden, the table was looking at itself through these eyes. And then there was a bowl or a plate sitting on the table, and I'm going, oh my God, that bowl is looking at itself through these eyes. And I looked up at the clock, and I told Alex, I think I got an email from this woman she was from the Ukraine. And her name is Alex. I think Alexandra. We called her Alex. I said, Alex, that bowl is looking at itself through these eyes. And then I saw Mooji up on the top of the hill. He was planting plants with a 5 or 6 people. And I ran up to Mooji and I said, Mooji, and there was a rock down by his feet. And I said, Mooji, I picked up the rock and I said, this rock is seeing itself through these eyes. And he got this he got a big smile on his face, and he just gave me a hug and said that this was a blessing that was being given, that I was recognizing this. And then I went about my way and went on. But it was that recognition that the rocks, that old Bible verse that says, if I don't say something, even the rocks will cry out, Jesus said somewhere in the New Testament. And that's his meaning on that. And when I say that the rocks and trees and minerals, they're more awake than this one is. Sorry. But that was my experience of going to Portugal and to be with Mooji for the first time. And then I continued to follow him for, I don't know, 5 years. I've been back 3 times to work, and I interviewed Muji a couple of times when I was there, and he kind of scolded me about telling the experience because he didn't want people to be drawn to the experience, to my experience, and so he's kind of scolded me about talking about it, but I feel free to talk about it whenever I want to talk about it. It's just really it's not about the experience, it's about the transparency of the nature of awareness. And that's the truth of what we are. And everyone has this awareness. This awareness can't be separate from anyone. Or you wouldn't be able to describe an experience. You wouldn't be able to remember an experience if there wasn't an awareness of the experience. And so that was my initial connection and with Muji. And the woman that Alex was out at the table that morning, I think I got an email from her this morning. It's just right out of the blue. I haven't talked to her in probably 10 or 8 or 10 years. I think an email came in from her today. And then I went from Muji to Rupert Spira. I love Rupert Spira, and it's really the thing that has always been a pull for me. And when I used to meet with Regina in her home years ago, awareness was revealing itself back then. And I remember sitting in her living room, and Regina, you'll remember this too if you're watching later on. I don't know if you're here now, but if you're watching later on, you'll remember this too, that I could only see through the eyes of awareness. That's all I could see. And I would say to Regina, Regina, why do we need to read all of these words if awareness is just aware of all of the experience? Why do we need all the words if we're just, if awareness is aware of the experiences? So I wasn't really connected with what awareness was. This was just like a question from the mouth of a child. And Regina used to say, Bill, you're always using that word awareness. And now when I listen to Regina, I'm hearing Regina always
That's all she talks about.
Right. Yeah. But I remember a time when she would say, Bill, you're always like talking about awareness, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. And then I realized that the reason is, and the reason that the global community of awakened beings, everyone self-realizes that we are the awareness, and that's what the Course really points to. It's removing the blocks from the awareness of love's presence, which is our natural state. So, and most people skip through what that verse is saying because they go to the concept instead of standing in presence. The awareness of love's presence is aware of itself as I. That's why I am is such a powerful sacred statement and 2 words. It brings you right into the present moment. When you say I am, it's awareness, awareness identifying itself.
Beautiful. Oh, that's just giving me shivers. I something about that you've mentioned a couple of times about laughter and play. You know that you've just recently come off of tour with your friend, whose name has just escaped me.
Oh, James Twyman. Yeah.
Yeah.
St. Francis music, the one-man musical, St. Francis.
Yeah. Would you like to talk about that at all, or?
Well, I'm telling you, I just love the play of the person, and I'm 66 years young, old, whatever. I honestly, I feel like I'm 25 still, or somewhere in that. You know, I look in the mirror and I go, oh, well, you're older than you feel. And James invited me to join with him to go cross country 4,500 miles and be his companion uh, for his one-man musical, The St. Francis of Assisi. And he's a real Catholic guy, James Twyman. Many of his friends and families call him Jimmy. He likes to be called James. So even though I started out knowing him as Jimmy, I went to James because I introduced him at these shows that we did across the US. And we did 18 shows before ending up in New York City. And it was so much fun to do that, because there was two kind of rules that he had in place that I needed to be part of, or I knew as part of the tour, was that the St. Francis had three vows: the vow of poverty, chastity, and obedience. And the tour was a modern day experience of what St. Francis would embodied: poverty, chastity, and obedience. And I don't agree with those physical sort of limitations, and I don't think that those were really, even though St. Francis took them literally, I take them metaphysically. And so I'm cool with all three of those vows. I'm on board with those vows. And but literally, we weren't going to take any money for the 2-month tour. And I thought, this is cool. We're going to do this 2-month tour, and we're not going to have any money. So before we left Portland, Oregon, on the 1st of January, or actually, yeah, the first week in January, I mailed my wallet and my credit cards to Lisa, my wife, and James put his credit cards and money in an envelope and in a box, and we shipped it to her in Maine. So we were doing this tour with no money, just living on the generosity of other people. And I love that idea, because what does that do? For me, I just couldn't wait to see how the universe conspires to support us when we know that it will. And I'm going, yeah, I'm all in, man. I want to do this. No credit cards, no money. Let's see what happens. And so we did that. We sent our money away, and no means at all, no money in our pocket. And so the two rules we had was we couldn't have any money, and we weren't going to fly anywhere, and we couldn't ask anyone for money. So we couldn't put a sign out and say, please help, I'm going to so-and-so. I left here. I live in Maine in the USA. And I left here with a backpack that I was going to be carrying what I had for 2 months. And of course, I went and filled up. I bought $50 worth of snacks, protein bars, and so that I had nuts and snacks and things to eat because I've been on a couple of Caminos, and you need to have some sustenance with you. So I did spend $50, and then I split that up with James. When I met with him, I gave him half of what I had, so we had equal amounts. And when we got to the first train station, I thought we were going to hitchhike or walk. I had no idea how we were getting from one place to the next place to the next place. And before we left Portland, Oregon to go to Santa Barbara, that's 900 miles. It was the longest part of the trip. I got 3 PayPal donations. I didn't put a PayPal button up on my website. I have one, but I actually didn't have it for the St. Francis tour. And was asking a VA that does work for me if she would do something on the website, and she put the PayPal button on my St. Francis thing for me. So I went, okay, the universe wants me to put a PayPal button up. So I did. I left it there because it wasn't even my idea to do it. So I took it. You know, you see these signs that come in. You see how the universe is in play, and you don't touch it, but you notice it. And I noticed the PayPal button was put up, and 3 donations came in right before we were going to leave Portland, Oregon for that 900 miles. $50 more than we needed for 2 train tickets for a 27-hour train ride. It was $233 for the train, and because I got a senior discount, I'm a little bit older than James, and it was so cool. So I had that PayPal money that allowed us to have a train ride. Actually, I had 180. I think I had $180 came in. 100. But the day before, James was going to pay a guy, an acting instructor, $100 to do a little part of a documentary that he's working on. And so James had $100 he was going to give this guy, Shelley, in Portland, and Shelley wouldn't take the money because he was so inspired for the project. So now we have $280. We needed that money, and that took us to Santa Barbara, and we had people buying train rides or offering to drive us from city to city to city all along the way. And so I watched how you can trust this universe, and that's why, you know, don't let fear be your lead. If you see, when you see fear, just rest in the awareness of it and don't touch it. You can do that. It takes practice. It takes practice to give a little space between you and the fear. But once you develop a practice of short moments many times, practice, just keep practicing being aware of experience. Keep practicing being aware, because you have to step back. It's a shift in perception from perceiving to being. And that's the identity of self. That's self-awareness this is that workbook lesson. I think it's 155. I will step back and let him lead the way. Well, take the pronouns out. I will step back and awareness will lead the way. And awareness is always on deck, but you have to learn. You first have to understand it, and then you have to pause and give the shift to it. And I watched this happen over and over and over for the different things that we needed along the way. Everything was given to us. We never did walk, and we gained 5 pounds each for the trip. And so I'll just kind of wrap this up with saying, James called me from Mexico before he left Mexico to start, and before Lisa and I spent Christmas with James in Mexico before he and I started the tour. And he called me about mid-December, and he said, "Hey, Bill, I got a call from a guy that I met at a conference that has offered to drive us from Chicago to New York City for the tour. He'll drive us the whole way. What do you think about that? Does that feel like we're cheating?" And I said, and I mean, this came in immediately. I said, you know what, this reminds me of like a cartoon I saw with a guy standing on the roof of his house as it's floating down a river, who is standing in front of God, and he's saying, "God, why didn't you save me?" You know, he's in heaven, and God said, "I sent you a boat, I sent you a helicopter." And I told James, I said, "James, this looks like a boat to me." and so this guy showed up in Chicago, and he drove us all the way to New York City. And I was like, there was a concern that Bill had when we first were thinking about this thing. We're going to be traveling in the coldest months of the year through the, Kansas City, Chicago, Philadelphia, New York City in January and February. And so I'm going, we're going to be in a warm car. I like this idea. So we actually did have someone drive us for the last 2 weeks. And the whole experience it was an experience of a lifetime. It was filled with joy. I slept on so many different beds and so many different experiences. And the final experience was I would call it, it was probably the worst experience that I've ever slept in that I can think about it, because I'd almost rather sleep on cardboard outside than have an experience where I'm sleeping with bed bugs. But we were at a Catholic worker in New York City, and I asked the guy who's showing us our room, I said, "Are there any bed bugs?" And he says, "Yes, there are bed bugs. We have reports of bed bugs." And I'm going, is this a deal killer? This might be a deal killer, but I didn't have any credit cards or money, so I didn't have any choice. The guy who was driving us from Chicago to New York City, he and I went to an REI in New York City, because I'm going, okay, if I'm going to be sleeping with bed bugs, I'm going to be sleeping in one of those cocoon sleeve things where the bugs can't like sleep with you. And he used his credit card and bought me a sleeve, and then I paid him back for buying me one of these sleeves to sleep in. But it was a total awesome, great experience.
Yeah, it sounded amazing. I read a bit of your diary on that trip, and it just and the way that you're describing it is just, you know, you're going with total guidance, aren't you? You're following your guidance, and even when fear comes up, you're using your practice to not let that be your guidance, not let that be an obstacle.
Right.
It's
Well,
just beautiful.
I don't know if the human experience is going to be in play all the time. And was it fear that felt it needed was fear in play where the body mind needed something to sleep in, or could I just sleep and not worry about the bed bugs? I'm sure I could have. I just I don't know. I just didn't want to sleep with the bed bugs. I've had them before and I didn't like the experience. So I don't know. We're gonna, I didn't feel fearful. I felt like, it didn't have the same feeling as fear. It was like, no way am I sleeping with bed bugs.
Yeah, I didn't really mean the fear about the bed bugs. I meant the fear about going on the trip. But yeah, the bed bugs I thought was a beautiful, that was one of the pieces I read. And I thought that was a beautiful kind of demonstration of just like, if you'd have been giving yourself a hard time afterwards about having, gone and gotten yourself a sleeve, and, then it's kind of negates the experience, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
no, there was no guilt. I guarantee you there was never any guilt, and it felt like this was the right thing to do. And it gave me, I totally slept in that. It was awesome. It was great. It was a green sleeve that you sleeve it. I put a picture of it with my blog, and it was great. I totally slept comfortable and didn't mind it. And as soon as Lisa came to New York City, I said, I'm going to the hotel. I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. It was a great experience. I got to meet so many beings across the United States, so many beautiful beings. And it's really, this is, goes to your question about laughter and living in the moment and allowing things to be as they are. Well, that was part of it. I'm going, oh my God, there's a REI right down the street. Maybe I can get Lisa to buy me a sleeve. That's what my thought was. Maybe Lisa can call them and buy me a sleeve, and I'll cheat a little bit, but I'll sleep better. So that was my thought, but they wouldn't let her pay for it. But the guy I was with said, "Hey, I'll pay for it."
Perfect. So I noticed a few people have joined us just in the last bit, and just to let you know that you're very welcome to ask any questions if you want to ask anything, or share anything from what Bill has just shared with us. You can put your hand up and wave at us at the screen, or you can take your mic and just say hi. Oh, Oliver, did you want to speak?
Not necessarily speak. I just wanted to say hi to Bill, and I was inspired by the adventure, and amazing. And one day I'm gonna build up the courage to take such a bold step as he did. But we watched you along the way, and it was absolutely inspiring for all of us. So thank you, Bill. I love you, my brother.
I love you too, Oliver. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it was amazing. It was great. And that's, I want to I just want to say that the thing that came into me when James invited me to join him was, we all live in the experience of choosing how we're going to spend our day or our life. And in my mind, opportunities, things will come into our experience where we can say yes to them, or we can say, no, I don't think so. And life will take us whichever way, whichever decision that we make. And I just think life is a lot more fun if you live in your yeses, and not so much in your, your resistance. Because I feel like the ego is it can be crazy, chaotic, and it can also can also be fearful of doing new things, and you'll get people that will invite you to do things and you go, nah. But it's kind of like it goes along with the idea that I have around money, about people giving you money. When someone wants to give you money, $10, $100, whatever amount, $2, wants to buy your breakfast, no, I got it. Well, don't get in the way of that flow. Thank you. Yes, thank you. You don't know what it's for. The universe conspires to support us, not just in in the flow of money and activity, but also in life. People are inviting you to do things. I got an email from you, Kate, to join here on Awakening Together, and I'm going, yes, that sounds cool. Let's do that. And I couldn't do I think you gave me a couple of dates, and I said, well, I'm going to be on this tour, so I won't be able to do it until I get back in March. But, Jesus gave a couple of hundreds of sayings, but he said something in the New Testament that says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. And don't waffle in between. Don't be like, I'll think about it. Well, go within. You'll get it once you practice this for a while for your life experience. Like, yesterday morning, I got up early in the morning, and I was thinking about, because I'm going to get hearing aids for one of my ears I damaged from many years of using a skill saw as a carpenter, and I'm not hearing so well in one ear. And I realized this on the tour with James, because I kept repeating myself, and James is going, and he's going, man, you can't hear very well, can you? And I'm realizing, well, I think he's right. I keep not hearing everything. And so when I came back from the trip, I started investigating hearing tests, and I was looking at different hearing devices, and should I pay this money for a hearing device, or should I just go to Costco and get it for a lot less money, or what should I do? And I woke up early in the morning a couple of days ago, and I just brought all of those questions. I brought the hearing aid choices, the thoughts that were happening, what I felt like was too much money. Shouldn't I just be so much cheaper just to go to Costco and get these? I met a guy on the trip who had hearing aids, because I realized when we got to Sedona, I was thinking, I think I need hearing aids. And the next trip was in Albuquerque. We're in a private home doing the one-man musical, and the guy had hearing aids in the back of his ears. And I asked him, I said, "Oh, you have hearing aids like my wife has. Where'd you get those?" And he goes, "I bought them at Costco." So he told me all about Costco. So I'm thinking when I get back, I'm going to Costco, going to get hearing aids. And I went to a couple of hearing tests and found out that my hearing loss is pretty severe in one ear. And when you only are listening through that one ear, you can't even make words out. Your brain can't understand what a word is on that one side. And I'm thinking maybe Costco isn't the best place, because they just have for average people, and this isn't an average problem. So I brought my choices into this space of pausing in awareness. Just a couple of mornings ago, I was pausing in awareness. What should I do with this situation? The answer came, exactly what to do. And this is where the Course says he, it's not a he. So if you can read the Course in Miracles, if you're a Course in Miracles students, please do yourself a favor and gradually remove the pronouns and the entities of Jesus, Holy Spirit, God. There is only one being, and it's the awareness of love's presence. It is your natural state. And when we say Father, bring it closer. Father is out, sounds or feels like it's out there. Bring it closer. Yes, the Father is a symbol for what you're in, that you can't be separate from. The Father is like the ocean, and the I am that you are is the current. So Father is the embodiment of being. I am is the embodiment of being. Holiness is the embodiment of being. Jesus is a symbol for the embodiment of being. The Holy Spirit is the awareness, is the I am presence that is in stillness. It has no commentary. There's no right or wrong. There's no gender. There's no age. The awareness is. And we can rest in that awareness all the time. And we can bring our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our questions into that space. We don't have to read it, although journaling can be very helpful, because when you're journaling, and this is why journaling is so powerful, because when you journal and you're using the experience of awareness in the background while you're journaling, and if you stay uninvolved at the same time that you're journaling, you're actually bringing those thoughts, those feelings that are expressed on paper, those situations that are expressed on paper, they're all coming into the embodiment of awareness and the light of truth that you are, and everything is being resolved right there if you just hold it in that sacred space of pure presence, and don't touch it. Don't be involved in it. I mean, of course, you're going to be writing it down. You're going to be involved there, but then hold it in this sacred space of pure presence, and don't make decisions. And from there, you'll walk away from that experience. You will know exactly what to do. Everything that's not true or not in harmony with divine flow, somehow it dissolves and the decision is left. And it becomes, once you develop this practice, it becomes a new way of being. It becomes like I woke up early in the morning. I wasn't disturbed by the decisions. I just noticed I had all of these different choices. It seemed like I had about 5 choices to make around these hearing aids. And by the time Lisa woke up, this was about 4:30, 5 in the morning. By the time Lisa woke up at 7 a.m., I told her when she came down for coffee, I said, I know exactly what I'm doing on the hearing aids. And I just knew. I knew what I was supposed to do. And it just came in. And we all have the access to this. This is a power of the universe. This is the power of pure presence that we all have. And it's available to all of us. So I just want to invite everyone to use that. Maybe that will be helpful for you in making decisions. I'll tell you, it's a total game changer for me.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And just we did speak about the possibility of you leading us into a meditation Audrey wants to know what you're going to do about the hearing aids.
Well, actually, I am going to a specialist that I had 3 tests. This is so interesting because I had 3 tests, hearing aid tests, and I was just going with the flow from one test to the next test. I didn't really know what I was doing with it, but I went to a hearing. We got a newspaper ad that came in the mailbox. It said free hearing test. Oh, I said, oh, free hearing test. I want to go to this place called Pure Tone and get a free hearing test. So I called in, I made an appointment and went in to see them. They did the hearing test and they gave me some choices of hearing aids. And I left there feeling that, and he told me that using a skill saw as a carpenter was one of the main problems with the severe hearing loss in one ear. And he gave me 3 or 4 choices of hearing aids and the different prices. And I still felt like I was supposed to check Costco out. So I told him, I still want to check Costco out. Thank you for the hearing test. And if I decide that I want to go in this direction, I'll call you back. And then 2 days later, I had to drive 90 miles to a Costco because we don't have any in Maine. And the closest ones to me, they were booked out till April. And so I ended up driving to one in Massachusetts, which was 90 miles to go to an appointment, but they could see me within 2 days. And I tied that into having dinner with my friend Vicky Poppy after the test. So I drove down to that Costco, and the guy and the hearing aids at Costco are like $1,500 for these real nice hearing aids that go behind your ears. And that's what this guy had in Albuquerque. And so that was kind of what I wanted to spend, $1,500. That feels good. And they're high, that's their highest end model that they have at Costco. So that felt reasonable. So I went to Costco and I had the appointment. The guy looked in my ears and he goes, sir, I have to have my other audiologist look in your ears. I don't think we can do your test because you have so much wax in that one ear, and we're not allowed to do hearing tests with that much wax in your ear. So I'm going, oh, okay. So he had the guy look in my ear and he put it on a camera, and oh my God, this one ear, it's like a wax factory. So they couldn't do the test, and I'm going, wow, that guy was going to sell me hearing aids. And he didn't really know what my true hearing ability was, because they wouldn't do the test because they couldn't get a good audio reading on me not hearing correctly in that one ear. So I felt that was a guided test that told me that I need to get the wax out of my ears. So I went to the local clinic the next morning and to get the wax out of my ears, because I had another test that was scheduled for Friday. This was a couple of days ago, and at 2:30 that afternoon. So I wanted to make sure that my ears were nice and clean. So I went to the doctor, had it cleaned out, had nice, and I sat with this audiologist. She was so good. And so, I mean, she could tell that she gave us, she gave a test that where I could tell that when this ear is turned off and I'm only listening to this ear, the brain can't even tell what the words are in this one ear. And if I don't have a good audiologist adjusting the hearing aids, I'm probably not going to have the best hearing. And you know, my work, and one of the things that I really feel is ours to do as teachers and also as living demonstration in this world, is to be good listeners. I need to be able to hear the content of a conversation and not miss any parts of it. So I think listening is an important responsibility that I have, is to be a good listener. And so I have prices from this other place, and it's going to start at double the price as as Costco. It's going to be like $2,800 or maybe $35, maybe even $4,000 for the hearing aids. But I feel that that's really what I am supposed to do. Hearing is like seeing. If you're not going to get glasses that are partially, you can pretty, you know, you're going to drive with these things. Well, I'm a listener, and it's important to hear to hear everything with clarity. So I'm going with the more expensive ones. I'm going to start at their lower level and work up, but I'm going to work with an experienced audiologist on my hearing aids. And that's what came in that morning, is to go with the professional that's going to do the best job, and whatever is necessary for me to pay for that. I don't need to be in fear or lack about it. The universe will provide for that for me.
And you've also saved loads of money for the last couple of months, haven't you not used a credit card?
Yeah, I haven't used it any. Well, I did use it I did cheat. I did use it in Phoenix because I had to get a root canal, emergency root canal, and Lisa sent the doctor the credit card information so I could get an emergency root canal. So you have to keep living and living in guidance, and you can do both.
Yeah. George, did you want to ask something?
Yes. So good to see you, Bill. You know, it's been several years since we've been together in person at the Course in Miracles conferences. And, you know, my heart just sings that that I'm here with you in this way. So Kate was going to ask you to lead us through a meditation. How big of a deal is meditation in your life right now? Or what? Just tell me about meditation and how you feel about the necessity of it or lack of.
Thank you, George. Yes, it's good to be with you too. And meditation is, it's actually two things for me. Meditation is not so much something, even though we do it, but meditation is the experience of abiding in what we are. And the two kinds of meditations that I use are a living meditation where awareness is a 24/7. This is a living, breathing being meditation. And this is something that we all practice all the time. It's being the holiness of pure presence is a living, it's a living experience of meditating all through the day. So meditation for me isn't so much a trying to reach a state, or I don't feel that it's even, we do find a direct experience from it. When the other part of it is we're always in meditation. The other part of it is when we go into this place of communion. That's another kind of meditation, but it's not the only meditation. Going into this place of what I would call Holy Communion, where we're residing in the holiness of love's presence. It's almost like a movement into holiness, and it's a visceral experience of connecting with the self, with being. And this is where we join together, and we somehow we plug into this divine self. It's I love to facilitate meditations because it seems like it takes me out of the body completely, and I love that. And it takes a lot of the beings out of the body completely. We reside in the beingness right there, and I think it's an important thing for beings to do. And I just got a pull to start meditating in facilitating meditation maybe 5 years ago, and I've just really love it and enjoy it. And the other kind of meditation that we do, I guess you could call it meditation. I think it's just really bringing, it's like I did with the hearing aids. It's like you do with watching everything like a hawk, or being vigilant for God, being vigilant for love's presence, is a living meditation of being. So I sort of describe meditation in a different way. And I don't, I've done the long meditations where you sit for, 4 or 5 hours, and or even I've been with Adyashanti and been on 7-day retreats, the silent meditation retreats, where you do 6 45-minute meditations every day during the day. And I have to say, I think those are pretty much a waste of time for beings to do that. I think that's not it. That's just my own opinion of it. I feel that that's trying to get somewhere, to reach a state of mind. It's very controlled, and it's not the same organic, spontaneous meditation that I think is most helpful.
Great. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, George. We have about just over 15 minutes left. So do you feel called to lead us?
I do. Yes, I'd love to do that. Yeah, I would. And so everyone just take a breath, a deep breath, and just allow yourself to quiet the mind, and just be aware of the breath, and just rest in this place of presence, being aware of experience. You can close your eyes if you want to. It often is helpful to close your eyes and take the visual perception, sort of separates that away for a few moments. We'll come back to it. And with the eyes closed, we're just listening with the ears so we can hear sounds, and we're aware of the sounds that are occurring. There's an awareness of the sound of my voice. There's awareness of body sensations. Maybe there's a tingling in the head or face, and there's an awareness of that. There's an awareness of a pressure. If you have earbuds in or headsets, there's an awareness of a pressure there, a sensation, and you're noticing that. Maybe there's an awareness of your bottom sitting on a chair, being aware of that sensation. And if you didn't have a label for it, if you were 6 months old, little infant awareness, you wouldn't even know that that sensation is a body. You wouldn't have any reference for the location. You would have an awareness of the sensation. You wouldn't be able to call it a body part because you wouldn't have a label for that. And that innocent awareness is what is residing in this experience right now. Just resting in this aware presence. And if I ask you the question, does this awareness have an age that is aware of this experience? The answer comes back instantly for you. And does this awareness have a gender? The awareness of this experience? And we're answered immediately by awareness. There's an awareness that's aware of being aware. And this awareness can also be identified as I am. I am. If you can say to yourself internally, I am. I am. And when you say that those two words, it's almost like a sacred identity where the being has identified itself as I am. And this awareness is even before the I. This awareness is in the stillness, even before words, before any manifest form. This aware presence. This is also love's presence. This is the awareness of love's presence. Just contemplate that idea, awareness of love's presence. So this experience right now is not perceived, it's known. It's known as love. This is love's presence, the being. Just rest in this experience of being. And this is the holiness of what God is. Holy presence. This could also be called divine presence. We use words as soon as we bring words, we've added something to pure presence, awareness. But this gets us very close to being, beingness. Now I invite you to rest in this awareness of experience right now. Like a screen, a white screen before a movie is played on it. There's no labels, there's no commentary, there's no right or wrong, there's no time and space. This is infinite, changeless presence. And this is our natural state of being. This is what the Course in Miracles would call within. Go within. This is within. Sink down and within. This is within. The awareness of presence. And this is the most sacred place on earth. This is the most sacred place, and on earth is a word for the body mind. So this is the most sacred space that the body mind can have an experience with. And even the body mind is seen from this place of awareness. This awareness sees what the person does and judges not. This awareness is aware of all experience as love, as peace. This is the peace of God right here. This is also imbued with the power of holiness. It's a power that is expressed from this place of awareness, from this place of presence. And this holiness can be extended just like love, just like joy. Peace can be extended. And we individually and collectively, and in this knowing experience of pure presence, we can include all manifest form with the holiness of pure presence, with the holiness of God presence. As we even think about an individual, family members, we think about the world right now and the coronavirus situation. If you just, in your mind's eye, just imagine the earth as as it would be seen from a space vehicle, looking back at the earth. And if you look back at the earth through the mind's eye, you have the power of the universe, pure presence and holiness, to envelop the entire earth and all the continents and all the water, all of the physical world called Earth as a physical form. Envelop it with holiness. Surround it, just envelop it like a bubble of holiness, God presence, the beingness that we all share. It's one. There is only one being. And this is I am. This is what is aware of this experience. This is what is using the image. Is there's an awareness of the image and the holiness that is surrounding the entire earth. And we're imbuing it and extending it with the holiness of pure presence. And we're also, we're just seeing this holiness now just expand and expand and expand, and it's going out into the entire universe of physical form. And there's no place that it is limited. It goes into all the other solar systems and galaxies, and it surrounds and envelops all of the planetary systems. There's no place that this holiness, this pure presence of awareness is not. It's an unlimited, eternal presence. And this is I am. This is the holiness of God. This is the awareness of love's presence. And now I invite you all to just slowly and gently come back into the body-mind and slowly open your eyes, and while you're still in this little bit of a gazing presence of awareness, include all of the objects of experience, all of the objects that are in the room with you. You look at the body mind, you can look at the hands of the body, you can look at the computer screen, and you include physical form with the awareness of the experience. Allow awareness to include all of the objects that are in the room, and don't give specific involvement with any one thing, but just include everything with the awareness of it. Envelop it. And just know that awareness goes with you wherever you go. The workbook lesson that says, God goes with me wherever I go, is the same as saying awareness goes with me wherever I go. And this is the power and the presence of the universe that goes with you wherever you go. You cannot be separated from this pure presence. And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much. Thank you for making my first interview, Satsang, so wonderful and so easy. It's been an absolute joy. Yeah, so we'll be posting this Satsang on our website with all the details. We'll have, sorry, there's a siren going past my house. Yeah, with all the details of Bill's contact details that he's put on his bio for us. And yeah, I just really want to thank you, Bill, for making the time for us. And yeah, it's been wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and thank you for asking me to be a guest. It's good to see everyone. Familiar faces. Audrey, I love you, honey. It's good to see you. It's great to see you again, George. Nice to spend this time with all of you on Awakening Together. You guys are awesome. My love to you. My love to you, Regina and Jacqueline. Thank you for inviting me to be part of your community here.
Okay.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.